Welcome to the Happier Life Project, the official podcast from the award-winning mental health and wellness app, My Possible Self. Hosted by broadcaster and journalist Gabby Sanderson.
Hi, it's Gabby, and welcome to the brand new season of the Happier Life Project. Finally! I'm so thrilled to be back, and we've got a fantastic lineup planned for you. This season, we're continuing with our main episodes every Tuesday, bringing you in-depth conversations with more incredible experts. And on Fridays, we're introducing something new. Shorter, lighter bonus episodes. Perfect for quick doses of advice, fresh perspectives, the opportunity to explore a wider range of lifestyle topics. Maybe we'll share some extra content from the main episode, anything and everything basically, to help you head into the weekend feeling good. And to kick off the season, I am delighted to welcome back the one and only Britt Frank, author, speaker, and licensed neuropsychotherapist. Britt is on a mission to help you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. She's the author of The Science of Stuck, the Getting Unstuck workbook, and her latest book, which is the focus of today's conversation, Align Your Mind. Align your mind essentially means bringing your thoughts, emotions, behaviours, and internal parts into harmony so that they're working together rather than against each other. In today's episode, we're exploring some of Britt's powerful strategies from the book Align Your Mind, starting with its key focus, which is parts work. What happens when different parts of you are pulling in opposite directions? And how do you stop fighting yourself? We also look at what happens when other people's parts are driving their behaviours and how that can trigger our own. Britt's here to guide us through how these dynamics shape reactions. And make sure you listen right through to the end, because we also talk about the quiet magic of micro yeses, which can lead to real transformation. I suppose you could say the big question we're unpacking today is from Britt's book. If you're at war with yourself, who really wins? So, settle in, get comfortable, and join us as we explore how to get unstuck, align your mind, and start creating a happier, more harmonious life. Let's do this. Well, I've got to say welcome back, Britt Frank, to the Happier Life Project podcast. It's always a pleasure. I've been listening to your voice a lot over the past few days because I've been reading with my ears, Align Your Mind.
Uh-oh. Yay. I hope you like it. I hope all is good.
I thoroughly liked it, and it is going to be the overarching theme of our conversation. And I couldn't help but draw a conclusion that when I think about the science of stuck, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like we're going towards the same goal, which is getting in flow. We're pointing in that direction, and we're talking about alignment. And to sort of start where the book starts, I suppose, in terms of like being in flow, living our life and everything just seems to be working out. Like, can we start there? Could you put it in your words? What does it mean to you to be in flow?
Yeah, it feels like this goal that I can't ever reach consistently. And then what's wrong with me? I'm not in flow. I do not have a quiet mind, and I cannot find this place where everything is effortless and easy. What's wrong with me? Flow is awesome, and I'm not arguing against it. Mm-hmm. But when we try to force ourselves into these effortless states, it ends up making us more stuck. And so that's why I really like the idea of alignment instead of like seeking flow, because the more aligned you are, meaning like your actions match your values, meaning that like who you say you are is how you feel you are, and all of that. When those things are aligned, flow comes a lot easier. And even when it doesn't, life is a lot easier. Like someone said to me, like, when you do performing, like I do circus performing as a hobby, do you really just feel a sense of flow? I'm like, hell no, it's awful. It's terrifying. I don't feel flow, but because I'm aligned, I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I said I would do, what I'm trained to do. It's a lot more fun, but flow is great. When flow is not available, alignment is the next best thing. Otherwise, feeling stuck is sort of where you end up.
So when we're talking about aligning our mind, can we break this down a little bit more? What does it feel like when we're not aligned? Maybe that would help.
Oh, that's it. People say to me, well, how do I know if I'm not aligned in my mind? I'm like, you'll know. You'll know. You'll be up at 3 a.m. with racing thoughts. You'll be feeling like part of me knows that I want to do this, but this other part of me is sabotaging, and I feel like I'm at war with myself. I just hate the part of me that does the thing. Why can't I stop the thing? Why can't I start the thing? When you're out of alignment, you feel at war, not with the world, but you feel at war with yourself.
Well, you said the word parts in that response. So let's segue into part work. Now, previously on the podcast, and it was actually quite a popular episode, which surprised me coming from a more like clinically mental health company. But we did do an episode about shadow work, which is kind of looking at these hidden parts. So this is certainly part of what you were getting at in your book. Can you explain what parts work is to anybody that's new to this concept?
Yeah, and shadow work, because that sounds so woo and mystical and mysterious. And all it means is stop lying to yourself about yourself. That's all shadow work is. So parts work, and again, there's lots of different therapy types and modalities that do parts work, but parts work is an umbrella term. And all it means is that your mind, just like your body, is not one thing, but it's made of parts. And again, it's in our language, right? Part of me knows go to the gym, and another part of me is like, I want to lay on my couch and do nothing. That's parts. That means you have a part of you that knows logically your partner didn't mean to annoy you, but you have another part of you that wants to punch them in the face. Like that's baked into our language. But honestly, the movie Inside Out is the best representation of parts work I've ever seen. And I do believe the screenwriters researched a method of parts work called internal family systems, which is what I'm trained in and what a lot of my book riffs off of, Dr. Richard Schwartz's work. But yeah, parts work is simply the idea that your mind is not one single thing, but it's made up of all different parts and pieces or little personalities, I like to think of them as. And people freak out and they go, are you saying I have multiple personality disorder? Not a disorder, but yeah, everyone has multiple personalities. The me that's sitting here talking to you has an outfit on and my face done, and I'm speaking into a microphone. When I leave here, the hoodie is going to come on and the makeup is going to get scraped off. And then I have my laying in the house like a troll personality. All me, none of them's inauthentic. But yeah, parts work is, yes, your mind is made of parts. You have all different parts that have all different agendas. And let's see if we can work with them. I always say, everyone has multiple personalities, but imagine if they could all get along with each other. That's parts work.
That sounds great. Kind of like Inside Out. But I guess with Inside Out, they all represented different emotions, right? Whereas with parts work, just to kind of clarify that a bit, it could be like you at a different age that's speaking, but then perhaps it could also be like your inner critic, which maybe isn't an age. Is that right?
Yeah, so Inside Out is great, and because it's a movie and it's a Pixar movie, they needed to make it really simple. So in that movie, each part was an emotion, the happy part, the angry part, the sad part. Parts work is a little more complicated because humans are more complicated. So I think of parts more as their roles and less as their ages. Like I have a part who is very scared of people. That is a child part, but like the role is scared of people. My inner critic, that's the role. I have a child age inner critic. I have a teenage inner critic, and I have an adult. We actually have a group of inner critics. It's not just one. But yeah, generally
Right.
speaking, yay, not just one. You got a whole crew in there you got to manage who are all yelling at you, telling you you suck. But our parts, I like to think of as their roles. And when you get to know them, then you can get into, oh, this is my 8-year-old. Instead of calling it the part of me that likes to binge eat, it's like, oh, it's my 8-year-old who's really scared often and comforts herself in the ways that she learned how. But yeah, roles and ages much more than emotions, because every part of you can have every feeling. My inner critic is sometimes angry and sometimes disgusted and sometimes afraid and always anxious. And so, yeah, every part can have all the emotions, and parts are defined by their roles. And when you get to know them, by their ages.
So when we, I guess, refer back to your first book about stuckness, is this then when, let's say, a couple of parts are at loggerheads with each other? So you've got the one that's saying, I really want to go for this like job promotion, but then you've got the other one going, yeah, but there's other people that are way more qualified than you. So you kind of end up in limbo.
Yeah, and the science of stuck covers a lot of the physiology that goes along with that, fight, flight, freeze, and what happens to our amygdala. And I talk about parts work a little bit in that first book, but the first book was largely here's the science of what stuckness is. You're not lazy, you're not crazy, you're not unmotivated. This new book expands the idea that stuckness, even if it's physiological, is what happens when parts are at odds with each other. And if you want to solve for stuckness, sometimes you can deep breathe your way out of it. Sometimes you can ice plunge your way through it. But if you don't get to know the parts, then you're going to feel still like you're at war with yourself.
And if you're at war with yourself, like you said in the book, then who wins? But
Right.
what's the kind of solution then if like you've got all these voices in your head that are saying conflicting things and that's what keeps you up at night? Like where do we start to align our mind?
So I was kind of dismayed when I learned that the strategies for aligning already exist in the business world. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, wait a minute. The business people, the negotiation people, the people who study how to do high stakes, intense negotiations, that's the same skill set as what we need in order to feel a sense of harmony and flow and peace inside. And so in the book, I actually take people through here's what this would look like if two actual humans were at odds with each other. The part of me who wants to go for the job promotion and the part of me that feels too inadequate and impostery to do it. We're going to put them at a table and you're going to have a negotiator there who's going to find a way to a solution. It's the same technique set. It's just different language. And in parts work or in mindfulness meditation or in whatever, we would call that the observer or the I, or parts work calls it the capital S self. I like self because that covers divine self, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, whatever your spiritual framework is, we can kind of all get on board with there's an observer who is not the parts. Who's the one noticing the part of me that feels this way and the part of me that feels that way? You could also call it the negotiator. And it's the same set of tools. They already exist. We've had them laying there the whole time. And I had no idea because I never went to business school.
Well, I guess as well, people might sort of hesitate at the thought of speaking to yourself, taking on different roles, wearing different hats to kind of get to where you're feeling stuck or uncomfortable or what's triggered you in some circumstance. But then actually, like if you think about it, we talk to ourselves all day, every day anyway. So why not give this a go, you know?
I love that you said that because it's so funny to me because I push against it and everyone pushes against doing it because it's weird and it's awkward and it's cringy and it's gross. But like you just said, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
When you say to yourself, God damn it, how could I be so stupid? Like, guess what? That's not the authentic you. That's not the capital S self. You're still talking to yourself and negotiating with yourself. Anytime you say, oh, I'm being so bad today, I'll be good tomorrow and I won't drink tomorrow. That's a negotiation. It's just unconscious. So parts work is let's take what we're already doing and make it more skillful, more mindful, and more effective. Because it's not effective to bribe yourself or lie to yourself or tell yourself you stink or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're doing it anyway. Parts work just gives you a skill set that makes it more useful.
So then what if like we bring in other people to the equation, like in relationships? What if there's a part of you that is really clashing with a part of somebody else? You can't exactly say, babe, I just need to speak to your whichever part.
No, if you do, oh my God, if I ever said that to my husband, he would just storm off. He's a good guy. But no, you can't say that to other people's parts.
Yeah.
But when I say in the book, the relationship equation is me plus you equals more than two because I've got all my parts and I've got all of my partner's parts.
Yeah.
So I can't say to my partner, hey, babe, I really need to be talking to the adult here and not the teenager. But what I can say and what I do say often, now that I know, is, hey, babe, I've got some teenage parts that are going to say some really nasty things and they're going to pop off on you and it's not going to be good. I need to step away and take care of them before I can continue this conversation. Can you give me 20 minutes? That is much more useful than where's the adults? Get him back online, right? But my job is to manage my parts. That way I'm showing up to the relationship from self instead of looking to my partner to be a parent or a rescuer or a villain or whatever role my parts need a partner to play. Parts work in relationships is such a game changer.
Well, does that kind of make you more sympathetic to your friend, your partner, your parent, whoever, your employer? Because if you realize that we've all got different parts and sometimes some of them might be assholes or some of them might just be like traumatized or, because it is people can hurt you and it is often the ones that you're closest to that know how to, pull the trigger.
It's so true. Well, I'm not nice enough to be sympathetic when I see other people's parts. It's not like, oh, they're being growly. I feel so bad for them because their parts were traumatized. That's not totally helpful, but understanding parts with your employer, with a friend, with a partner, whatever, it's even if you're not sympathetic, it'll help you have clarity on what's going on. So if I come and my partner doesn't know parts work per se, but he's fluent enough in it because he knows my work. If I come home and I'm in a mood, like he knows enough to see, all right, it's not his job to take care of them. But if he sees that my parts are all in a way, he might go, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour. See ya. And it's like, if I see that someone I work with's parts are running amok, that will give me clarity for, you know what? Now is probably not a good time to start that really intense conversation that we've been needing to have. Or with a family member at the holidays, knowing how parts operate will give you so much information so you know where the safe places are to enter a conversation and when it might be best to temporarily exit the room.
So, because I know you talk about accepting our parts and trying to listen to them. So are we trying to fuse or defuse from them?
And I talk about fusion in the book a lot. I really like the idea because in nuclear fusion, and my husband was a nuclear engineer, and his parts go bananas because I take great liberties with the science. This isn't exact, but generally speaking, with fusion, all these little atoms that are floating around, they all sort of mush together, and that creates a kablooey. That is not the whole story, but generally speaking, atoms, when they shmush, kabloom. And with our parts, it's the same thing. When our parts sort of mush together, when I forget that I'm not my part of me who's triggered. I am not my part of me who's angry. I am not my part of me who's addicted. I am the I that observes the parts. But mind fusion is when I forget that and I just feel like I am angry. I am anxious. When I fuse with my parts, then you get an emotional kablooey. And so the task is to defuse or unfuse so we actually can feel like ourselves. I say in the book, I said it's kind of ironic or strange that to feel whole, we actually need to be more conscious of how separate our parts are. Healing is not let's get rid of all the parts and mush them into one self. It's can the self be in charge of leading the parts? And that is wholeness. It's not get rid of the part of you that sucks. It's can you lead the part of you that has some interesting habits? And that's wholeness. It requires a multiplicity of all of your parts all working together in harmony.
And something else you introduced in the book I think for many would be the thought that your inner critic is is it biggest ally?
One of them,
One of them.
certainly because it's the loudest, right? If you ask people who's the most obnoxious, loud voice in your head on any given day, and most people will either say my anxious voice
Mm-hmm.
or my critical voice, right? Oh, I messed that up again. How could you do that? Who are you to start the thing? You should stay small or quiet or whatever. And the loudest parts are often the ones trying the hardest to help. And that's hard. And so I don't describe it like this in the book, but if you can think of your inner critic like someone speaking a language that you do not speak, like I don't speak French. So if I went to France and I'm about to get hit by a bus and someone yells at me in French, get out of the street, you're about to get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
I don't speak French. So I'm going to be like, why is this person screaming at me? They are such an asshole. And it's like, it's not that they're being mean. It's that I don't understand. They're trying to help me and they're scared that I'm about to get hit by a bus. So they're screaming, however you say in French, get out of the way. Bus is coming. Your inner critic is speaking a language that you don't know. So if you could like Google translate your inner critic's voice, you're going to fail becomes, I really don't want you to get hurt. I'm scared. Who are you to start the thing becomes, if you try, everyone's going to laugh at you and we're going to get really hurt and sad. And I don't want you to feel rejected. The inner critic is not a kind voice, but translated, it is a helper.
So then once you've translated the message from the critic, that's when you can start to do the work to look at maybe where this notion has come from, like you're going to get hurt or, you know, whatever it may be, right? Because also when you talk about the inner critic in the book, then you say that the voice that we've, I guess, adopted, it's mimicked from the adults in our life as kids, like our caretakers, our parents, how they speak or their tone of voice, that we're absorbing it. And then that's how we end up talking to ourselves.
Yeah, and I love the deep dive into the origin of critical voices, you know, like where in your family did you first hear an adult shame themselves? But the nice part is not a lot of people care about that, and you don't need to care about that to feel better. That's why I write my books geared for a mass audience who don't all always feel like they need therapy or who have really no need of therapy. Not everyone needs therapy, but we all have those voices in our heads, right? And so you don't need to know where a voice came from to begin to work with it and make peace with it. You know, like if I met you on the street, I don't need to know your entire history, but I can sort of learn how you roll and then we can figure out how to be in a relationship semi-compatibly. Maybe not the closest relationship ever, but you don't need to, you know, have every meal with your inner critic and walk hand in hand with it and wake up with it and go to bed with it. We don't need to be in deep, deep, deep relationship with it all the time, but we do want to understand it. So you can manage that voice even if you don't know where it came from. And a lot of people genuinely will say, I have no idea where I learned it. I've never heard any adult around me say it because sometimes things are implicit and they're not overt. And that's okay too. So you don't need to know why a voice is in your head in order to change it and work with it and align with it.
Well, this leads me to something again in the book where you say, when your mind talks, your body responds. And that was in regards to uninstalling thought patterns. So I guess that's then kind of the next step then, if we've got the critical voice and then that becomes a thought pattern or a belief. I'm not pretty unless I wear makeup. I'm just thinking of that because of my mother, you know?
Same. Oh my God. If I didn't wear lipstick leaving the house, I got shamed. I remember some of the girls were like, my mom won't let me wear makeup. I'm like, I wish I could leave my house without makeup, but to each their own, right?
Yeah. My mum used to say, I mean, I know I've got makeup on now, but I don't love wearing makeup, to be honest. And she would say, you're not putting some makeup on, in that kind of tone that was like, man, you ugly without your makeup on.
Her parts are showing, and I don't have a whole lot of sympathy. I understand where my mother's notions came from, but it's like, lady, you do you. That's your stuff, not mine.
Yeah, different generation.
No, I feel the same way, but I digress. So yeah, when the mind talks, the body responds is also practical, right? It's if I'm yelling, and this is where my argument for self-compassion is not just be nice to yourself, just to be nice to yourself. It's when you are beating the crap out of yourself, your brain does not distinguish you yelling at you from someone else yelling at you. And if someone else is screaming at you, what's your body going to do? It's going to produce cortisol. You're going to have stress hormones that then prepare your body to fight or flight or freeze. There are real physiological consequences to not learning how to talk with yourself. And I don't know about you, but I was never taught, hey, here's how you dialogue with yourself. Here's how you hear yourself think. Here's how you sit down and have a conversation with a group of parts that all want to like harm each other. I never learned that. Parts work was the first time I ever even got a whiff of, hey, guess what? There's not just one of you in there. Like there's a whole crowd, and then everything made sense. It's like, oh, that's why I can be nice and mean and selfish and giving. I'm not a hypocrite or crazy. It's that there's a lot of voices up there.
So I suppose then shadow work is basically concentrating on the more negative parts of ourselves, or the not the pleasant ones, the ones that it's, I mean, trauma's involved, right? In this aspect of the work, part work, when we're talking about the shadow.
Yes, and I actually had a really interesting conversation with my editor at my publishing house, because shadow work, the way I focused on it in the book, wasn't about the negativity and it wasn't about trauma. Mm-hmm. And she was like, but I thought shadow work was all the negative stuff. And I said, no. Shadow work is anything about yourself, good, bad, whatever, anything about yourself that you're disconnected from. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of women specifically are shadowed from their power and from their pleasure and from their pain, right? Lots of women that I know, and men too, but I do think a lot of women can go out and function and execute and get it done. And they're so disconnected from how much pain they're in that it shows up in other ways. And so it's not just negativity, but creativity is a shadow part for lots of people, right? I'm just not a creative person. It's like, okay, hello, shadow. Your shadow is showing. Wealth shadows. A lot of people who start to make money will unintentionally sabotage it because they have a belief that rich people are evil. And so they have an abundance shadow. And so a shadow is anything positive or negative that you're not aware of. It's kind of like in nature, how do shadows form? There's light and then an object blocks the light, right? And that casts a shadow. Psychological shadows are simply what's true about you that you don't know is true. That's shadow work.
Okay. Well, because you brought up the example of like a financial shadow, this wasn't in your book. It was in a podcast that I listened to you on recently. And this was in regards to manifestation, but like I made a couple of notes of what you said. You said manifestation always works, but if you don't know which part of you is manifesting, you won't get the result you wanted. And you say manifestation is just confirmation bias working in our favor. So I think that's what you were getting at there, basically.
Yeah. And I'm careful with manifestation because I know a lot of people take that to a weird place. And then it turns into, well, if you're in an oppressive environment, you manifested it. Or if you get sick, it's because you manifested it. And I just don't want to have that argument because I don't believe that. And there's a lot of victim blaming in the manifestation language. However, I do love that neuroscience is really on board with what manifestation is and how there is brain science. Dr. James Doty just wrote a book on the neuroscience of manifestation, which is really cool. And if you think of confirmation bias, which is just we seek out confirmation of what we believe, and the social media algorithms are primed to do that, right? Whatever we're looking for, it's going to show us. Confirmation bias is your Instagram feed. It's like, I already believe this, so it's going to show me more of it. Well, that's what manifestation is. Manifestation essentially is focus your attention on what you want, and then your brain is going to filter through the noise and try to find people, places, and situations that will help that thing come to fruition. But if you don't know that because of your trauma, you're primed to seek out unavailable partners, you're going to manifest that, not because you want it, not because you deserve it, but because that's what your brain knows.
Learning that a little bit from you kind of actually I find really helpful. You know, it's just that like if I'm feeling this way, oh, why does this always happen to me kind of thing? It could be because I'm like locked into that thought, I suppose.
Right. Which again does not mean you want it. It does not mean
No.
you're seeking it. It doesn't mean you deserve it. It means our brains really like what's familiar. Our brains don't really like new unless we teach it how to recode new is safe and new is good, but it's going to feel bad before it feels good. It's tricky, right? So our brains are seeking out the familiar, and manifestation is making that process more conscious, right? And understanding that, like, if I say that I want financial abundance, but what's familiar to me is under earning and overspending and not looking at my credit score and having no idea. I'm going to have to work to change that programming because I'm going to seek out what's familiar.
And the way you kind of start to work on that, can we talk about the micro yeses?
Yeah. Yes, we can. That's my favorite tool. So micro yeses are what you do when you don't know which part is which, and like with the money thing we were just talking about.
Mm.
If someone is a chronic under earner, overspender, getting into debt, and they're like, I want to be out of debt. I want to be responsible with my money. And there's a part of me that keeps doing this. And I've got all these parts that have all these money stories, and I don't even know where to start. Micro yeses are what you do when you don't know what to do and you're too overwhelmed to do anything big. And that's a lot of us, and that's a lot of the time. So a micro yes is like the smallest step that you could possibly think of cut into 20 more smaller pieces. So a micro yes for a fitness goal is not take a walk after work. It's not do 5 minutes of yoga. It's not even do 30 seconds of yoga. A micro yes for a fitness goal might be get your yoga mat out of the closet and just throw it on the floor. That's it. That's all you do today. You literally do nothing else. And a micro yes, if that's too much, would be get your yoga mat out of the closet and just move it to outside the closet. That's it. You don't even have to put it in the room. A micro yes will work because no matter how freaked out your patterning is or how scared your parts are, a micro yes is so small your brain won't fight you doing it. Because it's so small, it won't register as something is changing and your brain will just let you do your thing. Micro yeses for a financial goal is not going to be do a budget, cut your spending. Like a micro yes might be, can you find out the website that will tell you your credit score? You don't even have to check it. Just find out what's the website that you would go to. That's your micro yes. And what happens with micro yeses is because you're keeping a teeny tiny promise to yourself to do something, it's like a micro yes creates a micro alignment. Then you get a little micro shot of dopamine, and that very quickly adds up. And then you can build momentum. And momentum gets you further faster than motivation. And so I've always said micro yeses will get you where you want to go a lot faster than waiting to feel ready or motivated.
Yeah. Another example you gave about micro yeses was the, like, if you've got a cluttered space, I'm a big advocate for tidy house, tidy mind. I personally do feel better when I've got like if I've got space around me, I've got space in my head. But yeah, another example you gave about the micro yeses was like maybe just do a corner of a room when we're talking about decluttering.
Not even a corner. Like I'm looking at my desk right now, which is this room. I'm with you, tidy mind, tidy room, and I'm human, and my office is messy right now.
Mm.
And I'll do my micro yes now. And if you're listening, I'll encourage everyone listening, like pick a micro yes and then like message us and tell us what you did. I have this camera thing. I've got this whole clutter of gear on my desk right now that I don't want to deal with. I'm going to take this one camera cover doodah. This is it. And I'm put this in the closet. I've got 1,000 things, cables and cords and random stuff. This is what's going away when this call is over. That's it. I'm going to take this one thing, I'm going to put it away, and I'm going to leave everything else. That's a micro yes. Because this I can do because I won't shut down going, oh no, I have so many cords and cables here. What do I do? This is a micro yes. That's all you got to do.
So then for anybody that's maybe a little bit daunted with parts work, could we do like the micro getting to know our parts? So we're not necessarily jumping in at the deep end. We could be like, okay, maybe today I'm just going to like discover a couple of them.
I love that. And yeah, like you can micro yes parts work too. I always tell people if parts work is overwhelming, don't start with the hardest parts of yourself. Don't start with the most painful, problematic, scare. Maybe start with the part of yourself that doesn't suck at life. Like if you successfully got through your day and nobody was harmed, like Thank you, part of me that somehow managed to get through the day and did not physically punch anyone in the face. Good job. Right? Thank you, part of me. Like if you made your kids their food today, that means you have at least one parent part or caregiver part that can do caregiving things. So thank you, part of me that made the kids food, even though I'm tired and I don't feel like doing anything. And so maybe start your parts work with recognizing the parts that are easier for you to recognize than the hard ones.
Well, you've got a 4-step process: recognize, review, reflect, and then reach. So the first part is the recognize. Is this what you call the align method?
So the align, I have so many acronyms and tool. I just loaded the book up with like so many different things. I've got defuse, I've got align, I've got all kinds of things. But yeah, the gist of align is the align method is ALIGN, align. And that's acknowledge the part, listen to it, investigate, give gratitude to yourself, and then negotiate. And that you can do with critical parts. You can do that with imposter parts. You can do that with parts who have bad habits. And it starts with acknowledge. Let's just say a part of me is procrastinating. And I'm like, oh my God, I know I should do the thing. Why can't I do the thing? Okay, first we acknowledge, hey, procrastinator, I hear you. You're there. Then I listen. What's really going on here? Are you legitimately tired and burnt out? Do we need rest more than we need productivity? And then I investigate. Am I hungry? Am I angry? What's happening in my environment? What needs to happen here? Thank you, procrastinator, for bringing this to my attention. And then you negotiate a solution based on what you just found out. That is my align method.
Nice. And to go deeper into all of that, obviously the book is out now. I think we'll kind of wrap things up, but I will ask you, Britt, what does a happier life mean to you?
Oh, goodness. Oh, so many places to take that question. A happier life to me means knowing who I am, knowing who my parts are, and making choices that align with that value system and need system. Like, am I doing what I'm needing? Am I saying what I mean? Does everything sort of match? Because life doesn't get easier, but it does get happier when you know I'm doing things that I value, that mean a lot to me, that I'm acting on my part's best interests, even if what they want is bad for them and I don't give it to them. It's kind of like a parent with a kid. A kid might say, I want ice cream for dinner and breakfast and lunch. And a loving parent is going to say, I know you do, kiddo, but no, because you're going to get sick. And I think a happier life is knowing how to parent ourselves in the same way a loving parent would treat a child. Sometimes no is the most kind, loving thing that you can offer yourself.
It's always a pleasure. And thank you so much for sharing so much great stuff from Align Your Mind. It's a really good read and it's out now. It's so you as well. And it's like very easy to understand, you know, even when you're breaking down more complex stuff. So yeah, thank you so much. Again, we'll put your links in the show notes, but the website is brittfrank.com and Instagram is the same, #BrittFrank.
So good to see you. Thank you so much.
Hello friends, it's Gabby back with you. If you are suffering with your mental health, there is a crisis button on the My Possible Self app, which will signpost you to the correct information for immediate expert advice. Those of you who are listening on one of the podcast platforms, the My Possible Self app is completely free to download. You can access all of the content, so you don't need to worry about it costing you anything. If you found this episode helpful, please do subscribe and leave a review and share it with your friends. And to find and follow us on social media, we are most active on Instagram, and you can find us at My Possible Self. And I've been at Radio Gabby. Until the next one, do take care. Bye for now.